everybody. Welcome to Task Force Geek. Spoiler alert. I'm your host for the evening, Beth, and you know my compatriots, Dirk and Walt. And guess what? We are talking about the super exciting season 4 episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but it seems like this TV show just keeps getting better with every episode. And this one was no exception. We have more sassy Princess Leia. We have more frustrated Obi-Wan trying to figure out what he's doing with his life. And we get one really PO Darth Vader. Yeah. So let's jump right into it. All right, guys. Dirk, Walt, tell me what you thought of the episode.
This episode was very, very good. I was, like you said, each week there's getting more and more stuff going on, and people should be happy they got the Obi-Wan they wanted to see in this episode. So, yeah.
We've got him starting to use his force powers again. A little slow on the draw, but man, he's not missing any beats with that lightsaber.
Doing some ninja style stuff too.
Oh yeah.
We got more action than I expected on this one. If you watched the last episode of Spoiler Alert, I said, going off of the way that they've been doing the Marvel shows and, some of the previous Star Wars shows, I figured that they'd take a break for an episode or two. They really didn't do that. We got some action. And what I like is, we're starting to, as I did predict, we are seeing the turn on Obi-Wan Kenobi. All of the whinging and whining and bitching and moaning about, Obi-Wan is such a, what's going on with him? He's such an old man and I can't take it anymore and all that stuff. It's called a character arc, folks. I realized that you wanted him to come out and look like, the Obi-Wan we saw in the first prequel film or whatever, but they're telling a story. We're seeing it now. He comes out of the back to tank. He's got the new outfit on. He's gone back to the Jedi robes. He's spinning around. He's whipping out the lightsaber. He's, he's stopping the ocean from flowing.
Yes.
And he's still using the blaster too. So
he's feeling it. He's feeling it now. He's starting to get back into the saddle again. And, if you're a fan hole who was plotting this thing, he'd be that from the beginning, and it wouldn't be a triumphant return. Right. It would just be flat and boring throughout the entire show, and it'd mean nothing whatsoever.
There'd be
but
no
to
excitement.
See him, deal with his demons and be challenged by this moment, and decide that he's going to meet the moment. Now we've got an upscale in action, and it was fun.
So I thought the beginning of the episode with the juxtaposition of seeing Obi-Wan in the bacta tank with flashes of Anakin in the bacta tank was a really good way to start the episode. It was a really good way to show, what Obi-Wan was feeling at that moment. And, because at the end of what was it, episode 2, he learns that episode 2 is when he learns that Anakin is still alive and everything. And so he's, like Dirk said, he's going through his demons and everything, but yet at the same time, his Jedi principles are kicking in. Where is Leia? Leia's the first thing on his mind. He knows the importance of this child, why he has to save her. He's lost her. What is he, instead of just allowing himself to continue wallowing in that pity, he doesn't have a pity party. First, he comes flying out of a bacta tank, not even healed. He's like, where is she?
Right.
So that juxtaposition, though, I thought was really interesting, and it was a great way to show that turn, in the hero's journey. And in case anybody's wondering, I did post last week a link to what a hero's journey is, and just because I can, this week on my blog, there will be an article about the hero's journey if you want to learn more. So
one of the things that I didn't get out last week is that there's a beat in that, which is battle with the brother.
Yes.
Right.
And he specifically calls him Obi-Wan calls Anakin his brother.
Right.
So it's not just kind of the hero's journey. I mean, it's right on the nose.
It's right on the
Right.
nose. Yeah,
Right.
it's right on the nose. Right on the nose.
Agreed.
So, oh, hi, Mom.
Hey,
Hi,
Mom.
Maxine.
How you doing?
Cool.
I love it
cool.
when your mom pops on.
Yeah.
She likes to come hang out with us, crazy.
Is it? Did we get her this time because it's in the evening?
Probably, but we probably got her last week too. I don't know if she
Didn't
got
chime
on
in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she chimed in before or after the show. Sometimes she gets the time wrong. Isn't that right, Mom?
So we see Obi-Wan going into the Inquisitor's fortress with some help of what I believe is now the fledgling Rebel Alliance.
Yes.
We have we're seeing where the Jedi are escaping to. We're seeing some of the people that help them throughout.
Shout out to O'Shea Jackson Jr. Shout out to O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Yes.
Or I should say, Little Ice Cube.
Yeah. Yes,
Oh.
I saw that. I was wondering if he was if that's who that was. I know him like what you just said, Little Ice Cube, but not as
And I would also like to say that
you got the rappers kids even getting involved now.
I would also like to say that he's been showing up in a lot of good how should we say pop culture movies. He was in King of Monsters, Godzilla. First, King of Monsters.
Oh, that's right, he was.
And he's in this, and he's in something else. He's in some other things too, some other sci-fi adventure movies. So we know what his calling is now, since Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
So.
Right.
Yep. Dirk, Gigi's there for you.
What's up, Gigi?
Thank you,
And
Gigi.
apparently, we keep losing Mom's remarks.
We do.
That's weird.
That is weird. That the podcast remark hole somewhere around there.
We're not getting him at all. We're broadcasting on Twitter, and we're getting good views on Twitter, but Twitter no longer serves comments to us, unfortunately. So,
that kind of bites
if you want to
on
comment,
Twitter.
then get on Facebook or on
YouTube. Yeah.
Or YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. So our fledgling Rebel Alliance that we get to see, we're starting to learn about what's going on. One of the ships that we see are basically the snow speeders that we saw in Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
So a lot of people probably recognize that ship. What did you think of the small group that we saw that helped Obi-Wan, get into the Inquisitor Temple and back out?
First thing that comes to mind is O'Shea Jackson's character talking about how he knows full well what's going on because his wife was a former Jedi.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
and there we have another Jedi breaking Jedi code and tradition and marrying without the council knowing about it.
Right. Well, this is after the canon.
Would have been
This
is after, yeah.
This is after the fall of the Jedi Order. So, everybody's trying to live normal life.
But let's stop and think about this for a minute. We know Anakin broke tradition and broke the rules by marrying Padme. And in some of the legends, it's alluded to the fact that Qui-Gon may have been married. And we know of the relationship that Obi-Wan had with Sabine. Is it possible that as we're moving forward, we may find out that a lot more Jedi broke that tradition?
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure it's happened. I mean, I would say it would be probably a small number, but I'm pretty sure that there's a number that did.
I mean, being a Jedi is a pretty sweet gig, but you do get removed from your family. We talked about that last time. Not so great.
Yep.
And, you're in the service the New Republic
For life.
For life.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're not supposed to marry. You're just supposed to be the space monk, running around with a lightsaber. That's what your job is. It
Which
has
we
its
know-
moments, but
We know, some of the Jedi had no problem with that.
Right.
right. The relationship that Obi-Wan had was brought about by the cartoons, which I think is pretty interesting.
I so want to have some sort of remark made within this TV show about Obi-Wan's relationship with Sabine.
That would be great. We're probably not going to get that.
Probably not, but it would be a fantastic tie-in back to.
I love that
back to the
story.
show. Yeah, it
I
was
love
a
that story in the
fantastic
Clone Wars.
storyline. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think we got shorted on that storyline too.
Yeah, we did.
We
I
did.
agree.
We did get shorted on that.
I think ultimately they just didn't want to change his status or whatever. They didn't want to get into it.
Yeah,
But they should have just gone for it. Why not? Let that guy, have a relationship.
But I also look at it like this, like Obi-Wan is the Race Bannon of Star Wars, and he had Race Bannon had his Jade. So, and you don't really know. You know that they had this relationship in the past, but you don't really know what it was. And I'm kind of fine with the mystery. I'm kind of fine with it. It's one of those things where let's just let it go. We know he had a relationship with somebody, and it's one of those things where just drop a nugget every once in a while. I don't really need to see the whole.
Well, and there's always been the question of the parentage of Sabine's son. Was he Obi-Wan's? Was he not? So
right.
Yeah. So what else we got in this episode? Oh yeah, we got some spies.
Yeah.
Yes. So our Imperial lady, we already know, is a spy for the Empire. She downright tells them she's a spy when asked. I loved that. I thought that was great.
She's pretty sharp.
She was pretty sharp.
She's handy in this situation. She was really good.
I was curious how they were going to get into the temple, and I really liked the whole sequence and the way she just lands, and just walks right up to the thing, and then when they start giving her crap about her being here, she's just like, "I'm sorry, but I'm your superior officer.
I'm a superior officer,
Open the
right?
Damn door."
Right. Yeah, that was a pretty good exchange there. It was a really good exchange.
This location was in Rebels, wasn't it?
No, but it wasn't a video game.
Yeah, it was one of the video games. Yeah, the planet, it is the water moon of Nur, which is part of the Mustafar system, which we already know is where Vader has his happy little condo among the lava. So,
I thought this was a real cool joint. I'll tell you this. Once again, the ability of them to create these environments in that soundstage that they have, they're what they affectionately call the holodeck. Really has opened up the look and style of these shows. I mean, Definitely. It looks really good, and the sets and stuff that they have here doesn't look like a television show.
No,
even a we're
talking
well-funded television show.
We're talking real-time rendering.
Yeah, I mean, it just really looks good, and and unlike one of the things that drove me nuts about the prequels is because they were doing the same sort of thing where they're putting them in a green box.
Yep.
And then rendering all the stuff around it. George Lucas lost his mind. I mean, like everything is cavernous. Everything is huge.
Yeah.
To an excessive degree. And it's like, don't they ever have like a hallway that they walk through,
Right.
I mean, isn't there anything that isn't like, a massive complex that's wide open?
You got your hallway.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
Sometimes the cramped quarters is more interesting visually or more interesting if you're going to have a fight scene in the middle of
especially a fight scene, and we can thank Daredevil for hallway fight scenes,
right? Yeah,
on how to do an appropriate hallway fight scene.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I've noticed with the way they're doing this rendering in real time and everything is it's pulled in that magic that we felt as kids in the first 3 movies.
I agree. Yeah.
And as much as I do love the prequels, but I agree, a lot of things were cavernous. I mean, you know, from the ships to the opera hall. I mean, you know, the opera hall on Coruscant can hold
the Senate chamber. The Senate chamber.
The Senate chamber, yeah.
And it's not just because you can make it huge. And I get it. He made 3 movies before that, and like he had to deal with, like, we got Ewoks instead of Wookiees because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to, you know, clothe Wookiees in the thing. Should have gotten Wookiees. But I mean, like some of the issues with like Cloud City being, you know, not having windows and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that George Lucas is like, you know, now I can do whatever I want to. So
right.
he went too far in the other direction.
Yeah, it was almost like, you know, he was a little kid in a candy shop just turning around and going, oh, I can do this, and this, and
right.
I'm going to. Okay, yes, George, thank you. We loved it. But again, having a simple scene in a hallway makes a big difference. Having a simple scene in what appears to be a small cave where they're looking at a map, you know, and trying to figure out, you know, how they're going to break into the fortress of the Inquisitors. But yet, where's the Bacta tank up on top of a ledge?
Right.
Okay, I get it. Okay, but that magic that we had in the first 3 movies, and even in the prequel movies, and that magic that was missing from the last 3 movies, where we're experiencing a new place, and we get to see the full vista. We get the idea of where we are before, you know, we've got the macro edit before we go down to the micro edit where all the action is taking place. That is what this TV show has brought back that we have not seen in a long time.
It's like that opening scene in episode 3 where we have that. I mean, even though it starts off with 2 spaceships in space, but you're really up close to these 2 little spaceships. Yep. And then when they get into it, then it spreads out. Then you see what's going on. Then you see the total chaos going all around. You know,
you see the chaos going on around around Obi-Wan
like
and Anakin. That's actually one of my favorite sequences of all of the Star Wars movies. That opening sequence to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, mine too. Because once they break into it, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
So.
And again, John Williams and the score in that movie just knocked it off the rails.
That never hurts things.
No, it doesn't. And that's one thing I'm actually also enjoying about this TV show is the score.
The music is pretty tight.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the music in that.
Yeah.
So we get them on the planet, and we get Obi-Wan swimming again. All right. To which my husband was making Jar Jar Binks jokes.
I was too, by the way.
Were you? Yes.
Big group of fish.
I like they did that. You know, do you not have you ever opened your eyes underwater?
Mm-hmm.
I have.
I did earlier today.
I have.
It's not easy.
No.
I mean, maybe if you're a Jedi, it's easy.
It's uncomfortable.
It is.
Especially,
especially in chlorinated water. I guess this would be fresh water. Maybe it's I don't know.
In chlorinated water, it's uncomfortable. In salt water, it's even worse. At least in my opinion.
I like how he gets into this facility by going in, the hatch through underwater. And
we get to see some of the same apparatuses that he used in that he and Qui-Gon both used in Phantom Menace. The rest, the breathers and everything. Of course, once again, he's perfectly dry though when he gets out.
He dried off
just
pretty
like
quick.
Force dry off or something,
Maybe there's some sort of force field that once you walk, you pass through it.
It dries you.
it like wrings all that stuff out of your clothing.
It
We'll go with
space
that.
dries you.
Yeah.
Yeah, space dries you.
Because if you put space in front of it, it's so much cooler.
Because if you think about it, that's what happened when they got to the Gungan city. You know, when they walked through the force field, you know, then all of a sudden they were like kind of dry. So
which always makes me laugh.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. We're just gonna go with that.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead, canon accept it. We'll go with that one.
Since Marvel has access to all the Star Wars thing, they can send us a no prize for that.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's tech Tony developed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Converse amongst yourselves.
I see. Gigi's left a comment there.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Walt. Gigi's giving you kudos here, man.
Oh.
It's the Walt.
He certainly is.
It's the Walt, man.
I'm the quiet one.
We got to see an interrogation with Princess Leia, Princess Leia, and interrogation is really not an issue for her. She doesn't really, even at whatever she is, what
She's
they say, 9, 10.
She's 10.
Even at that age, she's not having a lot of problems there. She's really the person in control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And plus you know, when she's an adult, when she's older, well, not quite an adult, but when she's older and she's hit with that again, she doesn't wince.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, foreshadowing.
We also see her resistance to Reva trying to get into her mind. She not having that.
No.
The whole are we having a staring contest line?
Right.
Was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because that is such something a 10-year-old would say. And you know, also
the other thing is that I don't think Leia really had any knowledge about what she was looking for anyway, so it was kind of a waste of time. So
Leia might have had a planet name, but maybe, you know, but
as far as knowing the whole network and all that stuff, she's 10.
Leia didn't know. She didn't
know that we weren't going to get. There was one plot point that was pretty obvious. I knew we weren't going to get a torture scene with 10-year-old Princess Leia.
Oh heck no! They came close.
There is no way we're getting that in a Disney production.
No,
they are not going to answer for that. So someone would, you know, if a meteor was going to come and hit the building, something was going to happen before that, you know. That evolved.
Although. Speaking of, you know, kids being tortured, we did see. Remember what Obi-Wan discovered was in this Inquisitor base.
Yeah, what's up? What is your theory on what was happening with that? He says this is a tomb.
This is a tomb.
They took those Jedi and put them in amber or something.
Right,
you know,
right.
Figuratively, they stockpiled them or something.
And I recognize the first one from I want to say either Rebels or not Rebels. Excuse me, not Rebels, because this is before Rebels. From Clone Wars, and the first alien Jedi is one that Ahsoka is associated with.
Yeah,
she was being punished for doing something wrong, and so she was put with this person. For
wasn't that the
can I show this?
Yeah, go for it.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. So there's an episode of Clone Wars where this character, I can't remember his name. I just remember.
I think it says,
trying to find it.
Here it is. It'll say right here.
Tara Sanoob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't Tara Sanoob
Tara Sanoob, the Phantom Menace's Oppo Rencesis, and Revenge of the Sith's Coleman Cash.
The identity of the Jedi youngling is unclear. No, it's not. If anybody paid attention, that is the Jedi youngling that looked at Anakin and said, "Master Anakin, are you here to save us?"
Right.
That is the Jedi youngling.
Okay.
Which leads me to believe that this is not necessarily an Inquisitor's gallery of rogues, so to speak, but Vader's.
This is his project.
These are the Jedi that Vader himself took down.
Are they? Do you think that they're? Do you think that they're like experimenting on them, or are they just warehousing them?
It's a showcase. It's a trophy.
It's a showcase. It's a trophy case.
It's a trophy case. Because shortly later in that scene, they show each of those Jedi's lightsabers lined up in a row.
Yep.
It's a showcase.
It's a trophy case.
That's gotta make Obi-Wan a little upset.
Yeah. I think that's more motivation for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
There's that cool fortress, man.
Fortress Inquisitorius.
I really dig the
That is
TIE
super
fighters.
cool.
The TIE fighters all locked up at the top there.
Yeah, I do too. So the ride, Rise of the Resistance, when you first step off the shuttle, okay, and you're in the big hangar bay and you've got that phalanx of stormtroopers hanging above you are a bunch of TIE fighters.
Nice.
Really? Like life-size TIE fighters?
Life-size TIE fighters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
That is
couldn't
cool.
catch a picture fast enough because I was like doing
Oh my
that. Like,
gosh. It's real,
Nice.
huh?
yeah.
That's pretty salty.
Yeah. I want one in my backyard, please.
I want the full-size AT-AT. Who are you kidding?
Planet Florum. Does anyone recognize that?
I don't recognize Planet Forum.
Apparently,
Yeah, I do. Florum is one of Hondo's hangouts.
there it is. Captain Hondo Onaka's operation.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So
No, I do know Hondo.
Yeah, that's one of Hondo's because I remember.
That's
I
from
remember
Clone Wars
that.
right there.
Yeah, Clone Wars and Rebels. Hondo's and Rebels as well. So
Yep.
Might as
Here we
well.
go with the Jedi breathing device again,
Show
which
some
was
of
cool
the
to
stuff.
see.
Awesome.
Yes, the tracker.
You know what?
Yeah.
What's interesting in this is I think that you see they reverse engineered a little bit the torture scene with Leia, and they also reverse engineered the thing where Leia goes, to Han, hey, they're
tracking us.
They didn't just let us go;
tracking
they're
us.
tracking us.
Not
this ship,
Not this ship,
sister.
sister.
Right. I thought that was running through my head too. So this is where Leia first learns about.
This is where she gets that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like how they keep kind of going back to this doodad.
So Lola.
Lola. I love Lola.
Yeah. There's
By the way,
chamber.
for those of you who want a Lola toy, they're available for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse.
Really already.
Nice.
They released them right after the first episode.
Besides flying around, I'm sure it could do everything that Lola does.
Yeah.
Beeps and has the little wings and stuff. It's probably not artificial intelligent.
Yeah.
Probably
So
not.
I have to admit, Reva's technique for trying to get information out of Leia was interesting. As far as, I'm going to be your friend and we're going to talk about this.
She
And
played
here's
good
all
cop.
the reasons why you need to. Yeah.
Right.
She was playing good cop.
Right.
Until she finally just couldn't get anything out of Leia at all and was just like, all right, fine, so I'll just play bad cop now.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
I thought that was pretty good, but Leia once again kind of outsmarted her.
Yeah.
Moses Ingram did a
Vexed her.
fantastic job in that scene because anyone with even just a modicum of morality or even just sensibility, torturing a child or interrogating a child on this level, because let's face it, the Empire's torture and interrogation techniques are way up there.
Yeah, it's their brand.
Yeah.
I mean, totally on brand. She did a fantastic job with this because she didn't break in any way. She kept up the pressure. You could see it in her acting. You could see it in her mannerisms and everything. And that had to have been a hard scene on her side of the script to do.
Right.
Because here's this little kid, the actress who plays Leia, she's fantastic. She seems to be a very
really
sweet
good.
kid.
She is good.
Yeah, she's great. And just the thought of even interrogating her, even, that's a kudos to the actress. That really is a kudos to Moses Ingram for pulling off that scene so well.
I think she's really good. I'm surprised. Another prediction that I had last time is it didn't happen this time. I really thought that Leia and her, I thought Leia would get through to her a little bit. They would have a kind of a heart to heart and make her, kind of, plant the seed or something. That's not really what happened, which now suggests to me, and, who knows? I mean, in the next episode, we may see a turn. What it now suggests to me is that I don't think we're getting rid of Moses Ingram. I think she's going to be around for whatever else is going to happen. And I think they're going to keep her as a bad guy for a while.
They're talking about a season 2 of Obi-Wan already.
There you go. Are they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. With season 2.
With Ewan McGregor and the whole show?
If we get a season 2, and I'm for it, okay?
I am too.
Yeah.
Come on.
She's, to keep her as the bad guy, to keep her as the foil. Ultimately, we may see her start to turn. We may see a redemption story with her, but I really think her redemption story has more to do with Obi-Wan.
Definitely.
And Obi-Wan has to be the one that convinces her, that turns her. Or
what, I was thinking of something else. Obviously she knows about Leia. Leia's right there,
right?
And they know who she is. It's not like they just picked her up. They also know she's directly connected with Obi-Wan. Okay, so no matter how this comes out, how do they get Leia back with her family, and Darth Vader not be up their bunghole for the next 10 years because they know that she's attached to Obi-Wan somehow? I mean, how is it that Darth Vader just goes, you crazy kids, you go do whatever you want to for the next 10 years? Something has to happen here to make him go hands off of Leia. And I don't know.
Right.
Well, hands off Leia, hands off of the entire Organa family.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Until episode 4.
Yeah, when Tarkin just decides to blow up the planet.
Right.
Hey, do we know when Bail Organa, when he gets axed?
When the planet
died?
When the planet blows up.
Did he die on Alderaan?
Yeah, he died on Alderaan.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yep.
As far as I know, that's the story.
Okay.
And
they cover it and of course, here we go again with, legends and non-canon books. It's covered and it is discussed in one of the books about Princess Leia.
Okay.
So, until Disney tells me otherwise, Bail and Breha die in the destruction of Alderaan.
Okay. Well, my point is that something's going to happen here, and maybe it's the resolution between Obi-Wan and Vader, but at some point she has to be off limits.
Right.
There has to be an agreement, or there's got to be a reason why it's like, okay, we're going to leave her alone. I don't know what's going on. He obviously doesn't sense that that's his daughter for some reason.
I got a feeling because Obi-Wan and Bail were such good friends for so long.
That is true.
Yeah, so long.
So he just figures it's his daughter, and so he called in a favor. So maybe he's willing to look past it. He doesn't see the bigger picture.
Right.
That's possible. Yeah, that's true.
So it's a simple it's a simple get out of jail card there. So
there's the air speeders that you were talking about, which became snow speeders.
Yep.
T-47.
I didn't recognize that right off the bat. I'm sure that's been the classification for a long time.
I've got to do
but I've always known them as snow speeders.
Something on that particular number.
I love this little paragraph. The T-47s first appeared as snow speeders in The Empire Strikes Back during the Battle of Hoth. Star Wars gamers may have gotten the chance to pilot the vehicles if they ever played the classic Star Wars trilogy Sega arcade game from 1997.
I remember.
One better. I can do one better.
I can too.
The Empire Strikes Back game that they released for the Atari.
Atari.
2600.
Where the AT-ATs lined up in a row, and you could
And you're just
fly over them and shoot them, but they also allowed you to go around them and
you could go around them and rope them, or if
Yep.
you had figured out the game early enough. And for those of you that still play Atari 2600 and have this game, here's a clue. There's a little spot right at the back of the AT-AT on the top where the graphics go, over and down and over and down. That little spot right there, you shoot there and the AT-AT goes down.
Right. That one little glowing
over
spot.
40 years and I still remember.
The next time you play Atari.
And I was right.
Remember that?
Also, the T-47 is also a Navy trainer plane. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
In real life.
In real life.
All righty.
I was like, I know that number from somewhere.
That is really, really cool. All right, that's it for that. I wonder if I kill this.
Where's Shank when we needed him on that one, Walt?
For real.
Exactly. Shank would have been able to get us that answer right there.
I have another thing. Do you want me to keep going with this?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
I got another one. It's got all kinds of real cool stuff.
I'm a little sun drained today. Look,
I'm just a little drained.
I had the opportunity to go swimming for the first time this summer and to take my grandson swimming. So I jumped on it, which is why we're now doing this at 6:00.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience, people.
Hey, that's okay. I kind of like 6:00 actually, because I
we can keep it at 6. We may not have Miriam as much, but we can keep it at 6. So that's fine. I mean, it's
some
no
work
worries.
done today, so that's a good thing. Let's see. How about the planet Balnap? While keeping the young Princess Leia in a guarded room, Reva brings out the planet Balnap, and it was in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I do remember that. Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool. There's Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan's new robes.
In his Jedi outfit again.
Yeah.
And they even propose and look, this is people who design these things do think about this much more than you would imagine. His tunic, his inside tunic is not white,
right?
Like it usually is. It's gray, right. And they suggest that that's maybe because he's not purely back in his Jedi, his old Jedi ways yet.
It's an interesting little nod to the concept of a gray Jedi.
Gray Jedi,
right?
Yeah.
Which they say is not a thing, but is a thing, but not a thing.
They're not saying that it's not. I mean, tell me that what's her name, Ahsoka, is not a gray Jedi.
Ahsoka's very much a gray Jedi.
She's very much a gray Jedi.
I mean, she is
she's the epitome of a gray Jedi.
Yes. Right. Yes.
And to be quite honest, Mace Windu was as well.
Yeah.
Because Mace Windu's main power, which they are saying is canon, which is the shatter points, him being able to see the shatter points and seeing how things could, what directions they could go in.
Yeah.
That's actually a Sith ability.
Right.
This is that fortress, but it's from the video game Jedi.
Right.
Yep, Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So there it is in that. That's a
cool looking.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and you know what?
That is
a
super cool.
Really hard level on that game too. I've played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That is a tough level to get past.
Is that Mustafar back there?
That is Mustafar.
Yes, it's Mustafar back there, yeah.
So it's red, and then you've got the water planet and stuff. Oh, I love space stuff.
Space stuff's awesome.
Space stuff is awesome. There is the character who was in the tomb that Walt was talking about right there.
Yep.
Yeah, he shows up. So you can see kind of what he looks like. It's pretty cool to have these characters that have only existed in the cartoon to now be rendered in real life and see what they look like.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's nice to bring them in. Nice to acknowledge that stuff happened. It's canon.
Yeah.
And to see them.
And to that, I would like to see more animated stuff as well.
Certainly, yeah.
I would love to see a live action Quinlan Vos before this is over. Since we know that Quinlan Vos is still alive, I would love to see a live action Quinlan Vos.
Yeah.
there's Hondo that we were talking about.
Hondo.
The way he
So,
looks in it.
funny story. The Millennium Falcon ride at Disneyland, you are actually doing a job for Hondo.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, because Hondo comes on the screen and you hear Chewbacca screaming in the background because you've borrowed the Falcon, and Hondo's on the screen talking to you, telling you what you need to do and everything. And I'm just
That's
like,
cool.
It's Hondo.
And Hondo is a very interesting character.
He's a great character.
He is
fantastic.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out who to compare him to, as, because you gotta trust him, but you can't trust him all at the same time.
Kind of like Han was when we first meet Han Solo.
Right.
He was in, for people who don't know, he was in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And what they say is a fan favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, Hondo is probably one of the best non-Imperial or.
I was trying to figure out who these guys were.
We were wondering if they were just Dark Troopers, but now, yeah.
When Reva comes out, or was it Vader? I don't know. These guys keep showing up.
They're following Reva out.
These guys keep showing up. They're the Purge troopers, and they apparently serve both the Inquisitors, but they're basically Darth Vader's elite
new
fighting
501st.
unit.
They're basically the new 501st.
Yep. They look pretty cool. I'd like to have an action figure of that.
Yeah, and it says right there, most of them were clones from, so.
Oh, okay.
They probably were members of the 501st.
Still under the influence of Order 66.
Yeah, and Vader just outfitted
not too old for that. Cal Kestis apparently fought Vader in that hallway with the water and stuff in the video game.
Throughout Star Wars, we've had some really good hallway scenes. Obviously the scene on the Death Star where they're marching from the Millennium Falcon to the room that they duck into, and then again from that room to
the dead end hallway.
Yeah, the dead end hall. Well, no, that room to it's basically the jail cells, and then of course, there's the corridor in the jail cells where Leia just blows open the garbage chute.
Yeah.
And then Empire Strikes Back, of course, one of the best arguments between Han and Leia takes place in an ice corridor.
Yep.
All true. I guess that's it. That's it for that.
It.
We have a great Luke and R2-D2 scene in Empire Strikes Back in a hallway.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's what I bring for Return of the Jedi. I know them in Return.
Now, the scene where Obi-Wan comes in to save Leia.
Yes.
That was there's one moment where I wish they wouldn't there's an edit in there, and I kind of wish they hadn't done the edit. But,
what was the edit?
So when I would just say, it was an editing thing. So, the lights go out and the blue lightsaber comes up out of nowhere and takes out the first stormtrooper guard. And then they show Leia, and then they show the second stormtrooper guard
freaking out.
And he's freaking out. Well, they cut to a close-up of Leia. Well, just before they cut, you can see Obi-Wan coming up from behind.
Oh.
In the darkness. Okay. And it would have been great if they hadn't cut that and just let him come up and just whack. But it was still a great scene nonetheless.
They're starting to let him do the things that everyone wanted to see in the first episode where he's running around doing this sort of stuff.
And back to the hallway scenes for just a moment. We see Obi-Wan avoiding the probe droids that are circling all through the fortress. And we see him duck up into, like a side corridor or whatever. And here we got a set of stormtroopers walking. And, his communicator goes off. Tarla, triggers it after she knocks out the other Imperial and to talk to him. And of course, stormtroopers are like, what was that? And we see Obi-Wan do the force, that force throw of noise up the corridor, which we first see him do in A New Hope when he's trying to get to the tractor beam controls.
Right.
So we're starting to see him, regain his power even more, which is good. I mean, he was trying to move something on the ship, just trying to go. And he's doing it. He's doing it with his right arm, which now we know had been burned, and he was in the bacta tank. So he's like just trying to test out, what kind of ability do I still have with this thing,
Yeah, I mean, he held back the ocean. I think that
that scene was
I think he's pretty much there.
Yeah.
If he can do that.
Yeah. That was another good scene there too.
That's a pretty big moment.
And directing blaster bolts, which we've seen him do this before.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's an ace with that. I'll tell you, we got to see him really bring that on. He's shooting light panels with other people's blaster shots, and he's shooting those guys, and that was fun to see.
And holding the ocean at the same time.
My favorite though was the dodge. When he dodged the one blaster and the blaster hit the
other guy.
Hit the droid.
Yeah.
The droid.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, he didn't even need this. It's like, I don't even need this, but hey, I don't need this lightsaber. But
he's feeling it now. We're finally starting to get that thing that people have been waiting on.
We're starting to see the things that make Obi-Wan starting to slowly come back. Yeah. And I like the fact that they've done this slowly, because it shows that 10 years of not using your Force abilities, while they don't disappear, while they are still there, you have to be focused enough to get back into touch with your own abilities and everything. And through all of the strife of the first 3 episodes, it's taken him this long to get back, literally get in touch with himself again, and get in touch with what he can do to get in touch with the Force. Really, that's what it is. Yeah.
It's really self-confidence. He had no self-confidence. He's coming around.
None. He had none.
Yeah.
I love the I love the floating stormtroopers behind the barrier.
After he let the glass crack. Which, by the way, if you noticed, it was just one window that was cracking. And before he left, he decided, you know what? Let's make them all crack.
Let's just make them all crack.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, of course, oh, shit.
Yeah, you're going, ow, yeah. Stormtroopers can't breathe underwater. Alrighty then. Yeah.
Oh-ish,
Yeah, serious oh-ish.
Oh-ish. So... But yeah, which in a way, and another thing about that, they weren't able to survive underwater, but those helmets will allow them to breathe in space.
Right.
I do believe.
Yeah, exactly. So how does this make sense that they can't survive underwater? Wait a minute.
How does this work? Anyway, I'm not going to think about that.
Do not ask questions.
Yeah, I'm not going to think about that for too much longer. I will say it was the crush of the water that killed him.
There we go. We'll go with that. Headcanon accepted.
I like, what's her name? Tarla,
yeah.
Tarla?
Yeah.
Tarla.
I like how she got away from those 2 stormtroopers, grabbed the weapon from the one guy and shot them both.
Yeah.
Like,
and she did it gangster style too, sideways.
Yeah, I noticed that.
She's
cool.
I got a feeling.
She shows up in that Cassian Andor.
I got a feeling she's going to be the person who teaches Leia how to shoot.
Okay.
I'd like to see that. I would like to see, to see her continue.
She goes to she stays on Alderaan.
Yeah, because she's a great character, and I love how when Reva asks her, "Are you a spy?" and she's like, "Yes, I'm a spy."
Right. She played right into it, which is great spy stuff, actually.
But the reply to that is I don't know. She goes, I don't know if you're lying to me or for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
a good line.
That's a really good line. That whole exchange was a great exchange.
It was
a great exchange.
We did get more character moments in this, and they did allow all of these characters to kind of, stretch their wings and stuff.
Yeah.
And
everyone thought that Reva got bested, but by the end of the episode, we find out that she was zooming them.
Yeah,
Who's zooming who? She was zooming them.
And it's interesting because we're starting to see how the Rebel Alliance is getting set up. We're seeing people within the Empire who are not happy with what the Emperor has done, but they're in positions of power, and they're still, they're working towards getting, people to the point where the Rebel Alliance, has the information. Many Bothans died to get us this information.
Right.
The
Bothan. Okay, we need to see a Bothan. I'm just saying.
I want to know what a Bothan looks like.
We just need to see the Bothan. Supposedly they are like 5 foot and furry, according to all of the Star Wars monster guys.
We need a whole movie that's nothing about Bothan. That's just
we need a whole movie showing how the Bothans got the Death Star plans in the first place. Okay, I mean I want to see that movie. I want to know how they got them. Yeah. But seeing these little things pulling in, and showing us how the Rebel Alliance got started. There's so much to play with there.
I thought it was interesting that the old farmer guy who gave him the ride and then betrayed him is talking about how something like the equivalent of what they used to say with Hitler, which is like the trains. Nothing wrong with the trains running on time.
Right.
He said something to the equivalent of that, like
there's nothing like a little bit of what do you say, order.
Yeah, nothing like a little bit of order.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got you have some people that like the order, and then obviously there's some people that are like, these people are evil. There's a big problem here.
Right.
And they need to be dealt with.
Which is interesting coming from an alien because again, Palpatine was xenophobic.
He is very xenophobic.
And, the bulk of the Rebel Alliance are alien worlds that have been conquered by the Empire. And basically, aliens that have been that have been displaced from their homes. Because one of the things about Jabeam is Jabeam has in the sequel, by the time of the sequel trilogy, Jabeam has a colony of Wookiees that were enslaved by the Empire. And after the Empire fell, this colony of Wookiees just continued, living on Jabeam because they had made their, they wound up making homes there.
Right.
So, for someone like Frack to make that comment, we're really early in the length of the Empire at this point because he's still seeing the Empire as a good force.
I would think of him as not so much as the Empire being a good force, but I would say that he's doesn't want to be a problem to the Empire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean
that's what I think it is. Yeah, I think that he makes the mistake that many people make, which is thinking that if he plays along, that they will leave him alone.
Right.
And
it's going to backfire on him.
That's the guy who is going to be shocked and amazed when the Empire turns on him too, because the Empire doesn't care about you.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Evil Empire's got an evil empire.
Oh, and they got an evil empire big time.
Right. I mean, what's the saying? That there's a there.
Yeah, there's a there.
There's a there, and you're not part of that there.
Yeah, he's not. They expressed that by having he had the Imperial flag on the back of his truck. Right. So he's trying very hard to be like, hey, I'm on board the
program here. Imperial flag at that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's
Hand-drawn.
hand drawn. Yeah, like
Right.
with a Sharpie marker or something.
Right.
Yeah.
A space Sharpie marker.
I'm one of you. I'm one of you.
A silver space Sharpie marker.
Right. An alien Uncle Ruckus. What did I just say?
You went there.
I went there.
I want to mention one other scene that we kind of skipped over, where Leia reaches out and touches the hand of Obi-Wan to, either to thank him or to just maybe assuage his feelings of being whatever, overwhelmed or or going through this experience or whatever.
There's actually it's a two-pronged thing, that scene. So and it goes back to when we see the T-47. So there were 2 T-47s that helped them escape.
Right.
The other one didn't make it back.
True.
Wade's didn't make it back.
Wade's didn't make it back. So the pilot of the other one was very distraught. Yeah. And so we have our Imperial spy consoling her. Like, hey, where she's like before all this happened, they were complaining about helping them because they're not soldiers. And she tells them,
"You're a soldier now."
She says, tells them that you're a soldier now. And so there's that distraught side of and they put this out on both sides of the screen. So you have this side of the screen, I'm doing my stage left here, stage right. On this side of the screen, you have the pilot being consoled about loss. And then you have over here, Leia and Obi-Wan, and she's consoling. She's like basically saying thank you and consoling him. But there's a little bit coming from both sides. There's a little bit of happiness and sadness in the room from everybody.
Well, they're rightly setting up that if you're going to fight the Empire, there's going to have to be sacrifice.
There's going to be sacrifices.
That people who say that they're not soldiers, guess what? You're in the fight. You are a soldier now.
You're going to have to choose.
Grab your plowshares and get ready to fight.
Right.
Gird your loins because it's happening. Obi-Wan has long, he has long since been a soldier. I mean, he was a general.
Right. And they refer to him as General.
They refer to him as General Kenobi. And
I should say O'Shea does.
Yeah. So now he's being thrust back into that leadership role again.
Yeah.
I never understood why you would have Jedi be. I mean, I understand narratively why you have the Jedi be, because they're your characters that you're following, and so making them a general puts them in charge of stuff, and they get to do things. But I never understood why you would have. I mean, Jedis are basically like galactic knights,
right?
Who are almost like also secret agents that you send out to take care of hot spots or whatever. I don't know why you would then have them command armies. It seems like there would be someone that's more qualified to do that.
Well, remember, these are clone warriors that were basically trained to serve the Jedi.
Right.
Diocephus? No.
Sifo-Dyas.
Bocephus?
Bocephus went ahead and ordered all them boys.
Yeah. Sifo-Dyas had them.
Yeah. Was a Jedi, which we find out later he was probably more Sith than Jedi. And speaking of Sith and Jedi, Sifo-Dyas worked for Dooku, and a lot of people are like, Dooku was Sith. No, Dooku was not.
No.
Dooku was never a Sith Lord. Just throwing that out there. Sifo-Dyas. Thank you. Created, had the Kaminoans create the clones.
Rock me Sifo-Dyas.
Yeah, specifically for Bocephus, specifically for this purpose. And when Obi-Wan goes back and tells the Jedi Order what's going on and everything, well, you know what? They jump on it. Right. So all of a sudden, the Jedi have an army to work with, even though it's the army of the Republic. They've got an army to work with. So who else are you going to put in charge of them? The Jedi.
It also makes sense when you see, like, at the end of Attack of the Clones, when you have all the Jedi together.
Yeah.
And, you see, even though they were all together, they
Still
were
got a butt whooping.
yeah. So it makes sense to have
You
them.
can overwhelm Jedi. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and it made sense for me to make them generals in the Republic Army.
Yeah, it's same here. I mean, I get it too.
I mean, you're automatically, you can look at the Jedi order as the what do you call it? The what's the Army college? What is it?
West Point. They're
West
the
Point?
officers. The Jedi are the officers, and the clones are the enlisted.
The enlisted.
The enlisted men. Yeah.
I think you guys made a good case for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it took us 40 some odd years to find out why she refers to him as General Kenobi, but that's the point.
Right.
Right.
So can we talk about Daddy Vader for a minute, please? Because Daddy was not happy with Reva.
No, not at all.
Oh, Daddy was mad.
Not at all. But you know what else? Here's another thing about that scene. Vader learned a trick or two from this, because we see him use it again in A New Hope. So
yeah,
I love watching Vader toss subordinates around. It's just a thing.
Throwing tantrums.
Yeah.
You know what?
Back to Anakin. That's very much Anakin right there.
Yeah, and I will say his tantrums were much better than Kylo Ren's.
And Kylo Ren was just a whiny wannabe.
He was just angry. Like,
Vader
was angry too, but
that would have been fine in the first film. But by the second film, you got to let him start doing different things.
It wasn't fun even in the first film.
No,
I mean, Anakin was a whiny butt, but by Revenge of the Sith, he wasn't as whiny.
Right.
But Kylo's just whiny.
It's pretty whiny.
Yeah, and I've seen Adam Driver and other stuff, and he's such a good actor, and they did not utilize his acting ability the way
they didn't utilize. I'm gonna go even further. They didn't utilize the material that they had in front of them to their advantage.
No, they didn't.
They didn't use the actors like they should have, and I don't care what anybody says. That second movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how someone who is in charge of that, Kathleen Kennedy, allows them to crap on you're doing a sequel series. I don't know how you let someone who you've hired parody and poop on everything that came before by design. I mean, how do you, not only was he subverting, he being Rian Johnson, not only was he subverting the movie that came before, that was the setup from J.J. Abrams, he was subverting everything that came before.
He subverted, seven.
Why
movies.
would you allow someone to do that?
Because she who shall not be named has no concept of what Star Wars truly is, and what Lucas truly built. You
need the thing that Lucas is an idea guy. Mm-hmm. He's a big picture dude. He's the guy who comes up with these different planets and these. He understood how to take Flash Gordon and make it better, how to do the hero story and land it. He understood all of those things really well. Yep. And you can see those things in the prequels. One of the things that, with all of its many flaws, dialogue, actor direction, everything else.
Midichlorians.
I don't mind midichlorians.
The world building that Lucas did and the overall plot of what was going to happen with all of those characters was fantastic.
Yeah.
They needed an idea guy because they lost that. I mean,
Yeah.
Lucas needed an actor director, and Lucas needed someone to write his damn scripts. He needed a team of people that would go, "No, George, we're not doing that."
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we need to punch this up a little bit,
and
or we
the
need to talk to these great
right.
actors that you have in this thing and make sure that they emote correctly so it doesn't come across as goofy.
And in the final trilogy, what needed to be done. This is what needed to be done. I was fine with J.J. Abrams doing the thing, but what he should have done, instead of just saying, "Okay, here's this movie, I'm going to walk away and do something different," I'm going to give you the idea of where to go. I'm going to give you I'm ending this movie, and I've set you up on where to go. Well,
Here's the outline.
What he should have done.
Is
That's
great.
what he should have done, and he didn't. I don't think he did that.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Is that they had in the sequel series people who were very good actor directors. J.J. Abrams is certainly that. Rian Johnson is certainly that. Watch Knives Out.
Yeah.
Knives Up,
Yeah,
Knives Out.
Yeah.
Watch that. He's a great actor director. He's great at bringing a theme together in a movie and stuff. Those movies were lavishly produced, and they were well scripted. Like the individual movies, the lines that people say and what's happening in there and the beats, all good. They needed a new George Lucas, though. That was Kathleen Kennedy's responsibility, and she wasn't up for
she
wasn't up for that job. They needed an idea person who looked at the big picture and said, here's the world building that we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do this differently this time. We're not going to tell the same story over again. And here's how we're going to land this ship so that it pays off for everyone. They didn't have the big picture person.
Nope.
One thing that I really appreciate right now with the 3Fs running the show, Filoni, Feige, and Favreau, is I read an interview with Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau actually went to George Lucas and sat down with him and said, "Here are the ideas we have for shows.
How do you not do that?
Your world,
right?
Are we on the right page?" And he still goes back and talks to Lucas to make sure they're doing things right, especially with Obi-Wan. The interview said that I wish I could remember where I read that, but he said he had something like an entire 7 days worth of conversations with George Lucas, discovering what Lucas's idea originally was with Obi-Wan, where he wanted Obi-Wan to go after Clone Wars, what could he use from the older properties that didn't have fans scream, fans like me who disagree with the books being tossed aside. He said, what can we use from all of these properties over the last 30-40 years that will make everybody happy, that's still little things that are still canon. How do we take this and do it right? And I'm starting to see they had a couple of bumps with Book of Boba Fett. They had a bump or two with Mandalorian, but yet they're still moving us into that truer vision that Lucas had. Yeah.
The story is still cohesive.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the ace that they have in the hole, as they say, is Dave Filoni, who is the big idea guy. They should have elevated Dave Filoni. I mean, I said many years ago before they, started these movies up and stuff that, the Clone Wars series is the best Star Wars product since The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
It's even better than Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave Filoni understands the big picture. He's the guy that does. I guarantee you that Favreau knows how to produce stuff, but he also knows how to listen to Dave Filoni.
Yep.
Right.
And
Filoni understands the big picture.
Right.
And Feige is the money guy. Feige's the one that goes, okay, let's see what you got. Yeah, I like this idea. Let's do it. As long as we have those three.
Yeah, doing anything.
Continue to
they
run
wisely have
in Star Wars. We're going to continue getting things that satisfy the fans.
Right.
Here's the thing that Feige does that no one else does, including the DCEU and everyone else who's screwing up. Feige sits down with the person who's going to be the director of the thing, and he says, "Why are you a fan of this?
Right.
Why are you into this character?
Exactly.
What does this character do for you?
Exactly.
Okay, go." And then if they show that they, used to read the comic back when they were a kid, or there's something that they understand fundamentally about the character, they're a fan, then he goes, okay, you're hired.
Right.
If they don't, if they're like Josh Trank, who made the Fantastic Four movie and goes, hey, this is a big superhero film, I can fix the Fantastic Four.
No, you can't.
You go, no. Go do something else.
I don't want you to fix it.
Go do another project. We don't need this fixed. We need it realized.
Here's a perfect example of that. Natalie Holt, who is the composer of the music for Obi-Wan, okay? When they asked her if she was interested in composing the music for this, she said yes, with one exception. She went to Feige and said, I do not want to write the theme for Obi-Wan. And Feige said, why? And she said, because John Williams never had the opportunity to write a theme for Obi-Wan. He's written a theme for just about every other character. He deserves the right, especially as the composer for all
Star Wars. Yeah.
About everything. He deserves the right to write Obi-Wan's theme, and then I'll play off it. And Feige was like, can't argue with that.
Right.
Which is how we get Obi-Wan's theme. That's John Williams, but she's just taken it and she's run with what the master has done and continued. So that's
like
a perfect.
90 years old. He showed up.
He
showed up for the Star Wars celebration and conducted
conducting.
Yeah, he's I think he's retired from doing Star Wars stuff, but still,
he's retired from just
Obi-Wan
about everything.
Obi-Wan was the last one he was going to do.
Yeah,
he was so honored that she felt that strongly about him writing the theme that he was like, all right, I'll do it.
Playing off of Dirk's thing about asking the director, "Are you a fan of the material?" And this is way off topic, but the G.I. Joe Retaliation, John M. Chu.
Yeah.
He was a big fan. I mean, granted, they didn't give him the budget that he needed for that movie, but compare that movie to the first one, which was directed by the guy who did the Mummy movies. And he directed that movie, and he was like, I always wanted to do a robotic suit. Let's throw that in there.
Exactly.
And that was the accelerator suit, and that scene was worthless.
Exactly.
So, don't ever get anybody to direct.
How about someone who's watched all the episodes or whatever and saw something in the cartoon and says,
played with the toys.
Yeah, and has some ideas,
and
related to that.
And John M. Chu actually took some of the old action figures and the toys and played out some of the scenes for the movie.
Right.
So
I seem to remember something. No, I'm thinking, who else did that?
Favreau.
No, it was the guy from Texas who did Machete.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
He took Star Wars action figures and worked out those Book of Boba Fett fight scenes.
Right. Rodriguez. Right.
He would do like with his video camera and his kids. He would work out those things, and that would be kind of his storyboard for hey, we need to reshoot these with real people.
And M. Night Shyamalan does the same thing. I do.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty funny.
You got to be a fan. I mean, you got to be a fan, and even if you're not a fan, there's been some who weren't fans who decided, I'm going to go back and read up on this, and then they come back and they go, I'm a fan now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's just as fine. But if
they got to be a fan at some point.
They got to be a fan at some point. Yeah.
Can you imagine what Feige, Filoni, and Favreau could do with the DC properties if they were just here?
Hey, Feige almost went there, from what I've heard.
There has to be someone there who gets these. I mean, look, Jeff Johns, I think, had some input on things for a while, and he is a guy who gets it. But
Greg Weisman,
much like in Star Wars, where they should have been looking to their cartoon department.
Mm-hmm.
DC should be looking at their cartoon department to get their characters correct.
Greg Weisman.
They get, is that Greg Weisman?
He's the one doing.
They get those characters, or someone like who did the Batman animated series? Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because until they get someone like,
they need someone who gets those characters.
Filoni and Feige in there. DC is never going to live up to what Star Wars and the MCU has.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because as you know, I've always been more of a Marvel fan, but as someone who grew up reading Batman comic books, I want to see a true, honest to God Batman, and I didn't see it.
I'm still a Green Lantern fan. I love the Green Lantern. I mean, if you're, as I was saying, Greg Weisman, I decided since the last episode of Young Justice was this week, today I decided I'm going to start over and I'm going to watch from the very beginning. And
I'm slowly watching them.
Yeah, and there's a scene in, I think it's episode 21 of the first season, where it starts off with the Justice League are wanting to expand the Justice League, and they're going over all these characters, and a lot of them are milestone characters and other characters. And the one part of this scene that made me laugh my ass off was the Flash goes, since we're needing power, we've already got 2 Green Lanterns. How about Guy Gardner? And both John Stewart and what's his name?
Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan. They immediately just go, no. And he goes, yeah, but and he go, no.
Oh.
It's 3 times. They're like, no. And so, like, Guy Gardner doesn't get in.
I'm still looking for my John Stewart Green Lantern movie.
I'm looking for anything Green Lantern. I'll go with Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner.
I just want somebody to give me a decent Martian Manhunter.
Agreed.
I love Martian Manhunter.
Me too.
And, I have not watched the DC shows. Dan has watched them, and I've occasionally been sitting there when he's watching them, but not really paying attention to them. But he was watching Supergirl the other day, and it was a pretty heavy John Johns.
He's in there
episode, and David Harewood is great.
Yes,
as Martian Manhunter. I want a movie with him playing Martian Manhunter. That's what I want. I want a decent Martian Manhunter something.
Yeah.
He's an underrated character. I love my Batman, but I want a Martian Manhunter.
That was a Zack Snyder snub. Zack Snyder's like, I'm not going to have a Martian in the thing.
It was also
they made fun of it.
It was also too early for Martian Manhunter in that movie, which is why we get that little glimpse of him at the end. Because by that point, John
was a little tacked on.
Yeah.
Don't forget he was masquerading as Martha Kent too, which didn't make any sense. But I don't even want to talk about that movie because I despise that movie.
The 3 hour Zack Snyder cut.
The 4 hour.
4 hour cut. Which I thought I was going to be wishing I hadn't wasted 4 hours of my life. I actually enjoyed that movie.
I will say,
I did too.
I will say that it was a better movie, but as far as what's his name did, after Zack Snyder left, it was a more cohesive movie. I'll put it that way. I still didn't like it. I still didn't like it. As far as
Zack Snyder came in to try and fix it is what happened.
Yeah.
He came in just to try and fix it.
Yeah. Still didn't like it.
Still a death knell for DC properties, in my opinion.
What do you think we got coming in the next episode of Obi-Wan?
Well, there is a tracker on the ship, so we do know that there'll be.
So who's going after him? Is it going to be? Is Reva and Darth Vader gonna?
It's going to be
fighter.
It's going to be Reva.
What's that?
It's going to be Reva.
I want to see Darth Vader following along because she's messed up now enough to where he's going to be like, all right, you know what? I'm following you. I'm watching you. You're not.
I don't know. I don't know. He was impressed that she had put the tracker on the ship, and
maybe let her have one last redeeming chance.
And that was her plan. And that was her plan.
Maybe in episode 6, Obi-Wan faces Vader.
Yeah.
We have to have a showdown between we have to have a proper showdown between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Because Vader figured out that
he has to redeem himself.
Yeah, that was her plan. Her plan was to let them escape with the tracker. That was her plan.
Yeah.
So, he's got to be impressed with that.
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to get a build.
Where are they going to?
I think back to where they.
I'm not sure if they actually said, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. Because the whole thing is returning Leia back to Alderaan.
And again, they have to figure out some way for Darth Vader to stop worrying about her.
Right.
Because if he feels like, hey, every time I drop by, Obi-Wan's going to show up.
Right.
Then, that's not going to work. So there has to be some, and I don't know how they're going to resolve it.
Yeah, I don't either. You know what? That's good. That's good. Keep me guessing.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's
keep me
great.
Guessing.
But I feel strongly that Obi-Wan has to best Darth Vader.
Right.
Or again, he's not going to say, when I left you, I was but to learn. He wouldn't say that if he owned him.
Right.
He would have said, "Oh, you're back for more."
Here's
right. The taunting would be different.
Right.
Here's the telling line in Star, because I love the fan holes that are going, well, he hasn't, Obi-Wan and Vader haven't met up before, and blah blah blah. No, the actual line is, "I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete.
Right.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master."
Only a master of evil, Darth.
Your powers are weak, old man. Which, good job, throwing that into the show.
We got a comment.
I see this.
That's Mulgrave, our buddy.
Ginge, what's
nice
up?
Of you to drop in here. Hey, we're spoiling stuff, so if you haven't seen Obi-Wan,
if you haven't seen episode 4,
be aware.
Be aware. we're spoiling.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, your powers are weak, old man. To which Obi-Wan responds with, "You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." Which definitely is the throwback to Obi-Wan learning how to use the living force.
Which I still think we're going to get at some point.
We've got to get a Qui-Gon.
I think we're going to get Qui-Gon. I mean, they've been teasing it even.
You know what? Maybe that's the key.
Oh, thanks, Ginge. I miss you too. and Ginge is giving us permission to go ahead and spoil.
All right. Just being sure.
I think it was all our very first. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
As my cousin said, we're discussing Darth Vader, and my cousin said, "That's a bad dude."
Yes. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
It's amazing that after all of this time, I said that they were also kind of retconning, that they were restoring Vader's scariness, by having him go down that street and snap the neck of kids, you know, that sort of thing, lifting people up in the air and all that sort of stuff.
His interaction
even after all this time, that Darth Vader outfit is still pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, did you see the camera trick that we were talking about, making him look taller? Did you see it?
I noticed that. I did notice that. Yeah.
Now you couldn't tell when
Yeah,
he was,
I mean, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that every time
I'm looking for it every
walks
time.
around and gets in front of someone because, not that Hayden Christensen is short, but he's not whatever 6'9" or whatever
Yeah.
Dave
He's
Prowse
not.
was.
He's not David Prowse.
And he's not.
He's not-
I mean,
he's
Dave
not
Prowse
David
was
Prowse.
also a bodybuilder. I mean,
Yeah.
He was.
Dave Prowse was in A Clockwork Orange, and look at him in that deal. He's a large dude.
He was also the Green Cross Code man in England.
I
Everyone talks about that, which is so insane.
I have stood next to David Prowse.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty big dude. Like Steve Shank is a pretty tall guy, and he was taller than Steve Shank.
See, Steve should get himself a Darth Vader outfit.
He should.
Or a Wookiee outfit, one or the other, because I think the only person that actually dwarfed David Prowse in like a lot of the promo pictures was Peter
Mayhew. Yeah.
It was Mayhew,
Yeah. For sure.
Darth Vader's. I had somebody ask me, in the invariable questions of how long have you been writing, I actually had somebody ask me, what is the oldest character in your head? And I had to seriously stop and think about that for a few minutes because I have been writing since I was a kid. And I realized the oldest character in my head actually is Darth Vader. Because, as a kid, even as an 8-year-old kid, I'd sit there with my grandmother's typewriter and, one finger type stories out. Star Wars stories.
You're gonna laugh. Mine is Speed Racer.
No, I believe it. I believe it.
Back long before they had multiple universes and crossovers, I was drawing, because I love both of these properties, I was drawing Spider-Man in the Star Wars universe.
Nice.
So that was kind of my original thing back when I was 6 or 7 or 8, something like that. Because I wanted both things at the same time. I wanted my cake and eat it too. So that was kind of my introduction to doing both art and writing, was kind of mixing those two characters.
I grew up
worlds
in upstate New York with 1 acre and 1/8 of wooded land around our house, and none of my friends lived close by. My brother's 13 years older than me. My sister's 9 years older than me. So in a way, those formative years after they introduced me to Star Wars, I was running around shooting stormtroopers. And I'd go and I would write down the stories that I made up in my head. Some days I was part of the Empire. Some days I was part of the Rebellion. It's honestly, Star Wars is that vehicle that pushed me pushed me over that edge to finally start writing, as an author.
Star Wars is what got me drawing.
Yep.
I've said this many times. Most people wanted to be Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or Darth Vader. I wanted to be George Lucas.
I wanted to be Princess Leia.
I wanted to be that, right. I wanted to be the guy that created all that stuff. It was Star Wars that set me on the path of wanting to write and to draw.
When my brother and sister found out that at 20 some odd years old, I still had all of my Star Wars toys and my Burger King glasses and my entire collection, they both said, if we had known you were going to keep this all these years, we would never have stopped buying this stuff for you.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I had all those stupid, I say stupid, those things that I got, I guess, from Burger King. They were like, Star Wars glasses.
Yeah, those things are worth some money, buddy. If you have a full set.
Why are they not doing that anymore? Those were
awesome. Right? Those things were great.
Oh my gosh, I would save those until the end of time.
There's a whole bunch of things. Don't even get me started on marketing.
I will pull out the glasses. Because I know right where they are. I'll pull out.
We paid more for them. I mean, you had to pay an upscale thing. I'm sure they were. I'm sure everyone was ready to get, because they were actual glass. They probably broke 1 million of them. But
how my glasses actually made it to England and back in one piece,
for real,
I do not know. Vader does not need to be terrifying like 99% of the time. Oh, yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Darth Bane is another Vader type.
He says Vader does need to be. He says he does need to be.
Does need to be
Oh,
terrifying.
okay, yes, he does.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah, I would love to see more with Darth Bane, but we're never going to get that.
We need a whole Darth Vader series.
Good question.
Yes, I want just a Darth Vader series.
There's a comic that I have not read yet. It's called Darth Vader Down, and it's a series that's basically like Die Hard with Darth Vader. It's like Darth Vader crash lands on this planet, and he's surrounded by enemies, and basically has to survive on his own.
I need this comic.
People say it's awesome, and that would make a great limited series. Is to make Darth Vader the protagonist.
The protagonist.
And you just follow him through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And see how clever and how resourceful he is.
So my thoughts on pod racing.
Great question.
I like
so if you remember the first, like the episode 1, Sega had, which Sega had at the time had all the rights to do all the arcade games, and there was the pod racing game.
Yep.
Me and Steve Shank played the ish out of that game.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's racing and it's Star Wars.
It's racing and it's Star Wars.
Kind of a
and we would take turns playing Sebulba or Anakin's pod. I mean, there were other pods in there, and they all sucked. But the difference. Oh, by the way, if you ever see that game, the differences between the two pod racers is that Sebulba's is great in the straights. His is great in the straights. Anakin's is great in the turns. So if Sebulba if you're in Sebulba's and he gets ahead, you'll get him in the turns. Now, that said, you only get 3 boosts in this when you're doing this race. Okay. So me and Steve would always play the hardest level because that's how good we got at the game. Okay.
I don't doubt that.
Whenever I pull out the Star Wars Legos games, there are 2 scenes that because I've played them all and I've completed them. And there's 2 scenes I always go back to and just replay for the fun of it. One is the pod race.
Yeah.
I just love playing that. And the other is the opening sequence to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. So, but yeah, in that, if you ever see the arcade game, the key to this, and me and Steve learned this from some guy, wish I could remember his name, but he just happened to be at the arcade at the time. The key is on
Dick Trickle.
No, more like willpower.
I just wanted to say Dick Trickle.
Willpower. Yeah. So if you ever see the arcade game, you want to play it. Do not keep the controls in the forward position before at the countdown. You will get a slow takeoff. Always keep it back towards you, and then right when it hits 0, slam it forward, just like in the movie, and you get an extra boost without having to use a boost at the beginning of the race, and you jump out ahead.
I love playing those old arcade games. I don't know if I ever told you guys this story or not, but when my nephew Mason had his Caitlin was, I'm not even sure Caitlin was born yet, so maybe his 2nd or 3rd birthday. Caitlin was probably a baby at that. He had it at Chuck E. Cheese, and I was kind of in charge of watching my nieces while everybody else was running around and doing stuff. And my one niece, Catherine, who you have all met, she goes, Aunt Beth, there's a Star Wars game over here. Really? So I go and I look at it, and it's the old vector graphic.
The Atari vector.
Oh my God, I played the crap out of that.
It's the Imperial Walkers.
I'm considered to be one of the masters of that game.
Yeah, wow. Same here. It's the Imperial Walkers, and then it's the speeder bike chase through Endor. So I go and I have them give me $15 worth of tokens, and I hand Cat the cup, and I said, "All right." I said, "You keep feeding it tokens." I stood there and played that stupid game for 2.5 hours on that $15 worth of tokens. Before I realized it, when I was finally done playing, when I finally just couldn't do anymore, I turn around and there's a crowd of probably 20 people around me watching me play this game. when that Chuck E. Cheese closed in Manassas in 2006, my initials were still the high score on that.
Wow.
game.
That's cool.
Dirk, you remember the arcade at Crossroads.
Yeah.
So they had the
Le Mans.
They had the original Star Wars machine there. And I never did get in the number one position because every time I tried, I ran out of time. The place would close. I would run out of time. But all I know is whoever out there in Oklahoma City has the initials ETA, I'm still coming for you.
Walt's gunning for you. Walt's gunning for you.
I do believe his high score was, I think, trying to remember, I think it was 50 million or billion or something like that. I can't remember. And the closest I ever got was 15 because I would go there after school with 1 quarter and play until the store closed.
Wow.
I remember, growing up in New York, there was this one deli in the little town that I grew up in, and they had a Star Wars game there, and it was the Death Star Vector game. And my grandfather, I would go with my grandfather. He'd go and get the paper and stuff, and he'd always hand me 1 quarter, and he'd tell me, "You can play this until until you die."
Right.
And I remember being there one time for probably about an hour playing and everything. And Grandpa was just watching me. So every time we went in there, he would hand me 1 quarter. And then finally it got to the point where my initials were at the, BAF was at the top and nobody was able to break it. It was that game for me was just, I'd get in the zone and it was just like, yeah, that was my game. I have played Dark Forces.
As have I.
I will be honest and say that I have not played any Star Wars games since PlayStation 1 Masters of the Terrakazi.
Wow.
Jin just pointing out that you're holding on to that 20-year game grudge. Wow.
I am because it was friendly. It was friendly where I would, for a while, it was very friendly where I would just one-upping by 1 million. And then one day he, it was like at 15 million. And then I walk in the next day and it's like, he's going to be like, "Oh, I'm tired of you one-upping me," and puts up this extremely large number. I want to say that it was probably a store manager who stayed and played after hours because I would play for 4 hours and that would get me up to like 15 million.
Yeah.
So to get that high, he would have to be playing like all day, all night. So.
Right.
F that guy.
I had a deal like Beth is talking about because I got pretty good at playing Dragon's Lair. I want to say Dragon's Lair. I played Dragon's Lair, and like back then they would put a monitor up on top of the game because everyone wanted to see, because it's a cartoon, and not everyone could solve the thing, so it was people who couldn't solve it wanted to see the end of it.
Right.
And I remember when I solved it one time, I had a huge crowd behind me that was watching me solve Dragon's Lair, which was a lot of fun. I love that game to death. That's definitely from a different era.
They're all from a different era at this point.
Yes, they are.
So, final thoughts on episode 4. Go ahead, Dirk.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was, like I said, it was more action-packed than I expected. We did get some character moments that I thought were pretty cool, and I liked seeing Obi-Wan get back to his his former glory.
Walt?
Still, I have to say my favorite scene in that whole movie is him sneaking in that dark room to rescue Leia. That was just the way that was filmed, the distant shot, and the lights are out. You see his lightsaber light up and takes out one stormtrooper and the lights go back out again. That was well done. Well done.
Yeah.
For me, it was that scene and more. I think for me, it was seeing Leia's strength during the conversation with Reva. You know, a lot of the fan holes out there are, you know, why don't they realize that she's force sensitive? Why don't they this? Why don't they that? Well, as we saw with Obi-Wan, who hasn't used his force abilities in 10 years, he's rusty. This is a child who has never been introduced to the force, doesn't really know what it is other than stories and legends, so she has no concept that she is a force user yet.
Right.
And so there's no reason for them to suspect that she is even cognizant of what the force is, which is also, but at the same time, we are seeing her resist a force user who's trying to get in her mind. So in a way, she is using the force, but not really knowing it. So I think, you know, the story building that they are creating here, the backstories that we are getting on some of these characters, especially Leia, is the kind of storytelling I've been looking for in Star Wars for a long time. And I am not disappointed one bit by this TV show.
Mm-mm.
I can't wait to see what they've got for us next week.
Oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, they have put this in the Star Wars timeline. And And we were wondering earlier where Solo fits in, and Solo happens before this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So, those of you who didn't
That's
know.
good. That's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good callback there,
yeah.
Walt.
All right, Walt, this is for you, buddy.
Okay, we're not going to
Let's talk about Miss Marvel.
We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because there really wasn't that much, other than it's an origin story. You know, if you watched Ms. Marvel, I was very impressed that the tone to this show is, and you know, we were talking about Feige earlier. They are really good at giving each show and movie its own tone.
Yes.
And there's so many things that make that set the tone for this. And you know, we've got a character who's got a big imagination, so there's all these, you know, things happening that are, you know, that are her imagination and everything. And the music also is totally different, you know. So but if you haven't seen it, it's very good first episode.
It's a great. I got a chance to watch it. Dirk, did you get a chance to watch it? Okay.
I still haven't watched Moon Knight.
Oh man,
I haven't finished Moon Knight either.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
I really.
You wouldn't believe what I'm watching now.
I really did enjoy the way they set up the first episode. And for those of you who are not familiar, Miss Marvel is a 16-year-old girl by the name of Kamala Khan, whose ability is that she can stretch, among other things.
In the comics.
And I was really,
TV series.
Yeah, well, I was wondering how they were going to do it for the TV series, and the way their solution was great.
Oh yeah.
I do have one thing to say to all the fan holes out there. Okay, if you want to bust this TV show because Kamala Khan is a girl of Middle Eastern and Muslim descent, then you better go back and read the comic books. Stop this hate, okay?
Just
this character is well established, probably a lot longer than any of you have been alive.
Right.
This is who she is. You need to open your eyes and learn that variety is the spice of life and give it a shot. Because this is going to be a good show.
I'm sorry, but she's here to stay.
And she's fun. And she's witty. And the actress who is playing with her, perfect cast.
Perfect. Well, she grew up a fan.
Yeah.
Hence Dirk talking about we got to find people who are fans. This girl read the comic book, and when she found out that they were having tryouts for this move for the TV series, she went and tried out. So this is her first acting gig.
And she's fantastic.
She's fantastic.
If you haven't watched the first episode, it's only a half hour. Walt and I both highly recommend it.
There's not really much to spoil as far as the show, except for most of the Easter eggs. The best Easter eggs are in the end credits, and I shared it with Dirk and Beth earlier today. If you were a fan of Hawkeye, a Trust a Bro moving van makes an appearance in the end credits. And I lost my ish when I saw that. I had to go back and run it back again. Trust a Bro. So I don't know if that's a foreshadowing of what we might see later on, but
or just a tie into what we've already had,
or if it's just a tie-in. So,
I think back when I was a kid, and they had that really lousy Spider-Man series, on television and all the other stuff, and it wasn't until the Superman movies were cool. At least the first couple of those were cool.
The first two.
And then they did the couple of Tim Burton Batman movies, which was big blockbuster motion picture things, which is really what has led to the era that we're in right now. Right. Is the success of that. They everyone in Hollywood. Hey, Mark, thank you for dropping by. We appreciate it. That Batman thing really led off to what we're doing right now. But I never would have imagined back when I read, speaking of Moon Knight, I read Moon Knight comics back in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And I certainly never expected that there would be a television series, since we were getting, superhero stuff was very sparse, and the stuff that was coming out was lousy. Let's be honest.
Right.
It was just really poorly done.
It was
people
rushed.
Who didn't appreciate the characters and what was going on and that sort of thing. So look, for us to now be at the point where we're getting Rocket Raccoon, mm-hmm. and we're getting not just the movies. People who complain about this stuff kill me, because we would have killed for a Miss Marvel television series back when we were young.
Yes.
Because nothing was being produced with any money or quality or care or love at all.
The only
we didn't have that.
The only superhero TV show that I can think of from our childhood that was produced with any sort of care was Wonder Woman with Linda Carter.
Yeah, agreed. I was about to say Wonder Woman. I can still go back and watch, especially the first season of Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. Or The Greatest American Hero, where they was not an established character,
right?
But they took something and they said, "Hey, there's something here. We could tell. We tell an interesting story with this character." But if you like whatever the mainstream superhero stuff, we're getting 3 movies a year. For people who said that the Marvel universe was over after Endgame, you're wrong.
Right.
Who thinks that it's over after seeing the latest Spider-Man film? It's very much not over. They made $2 billion on that.
There's things that we never thought would ever been made.
Yeah.
Black Panther.
Exactly. Who saw the Doctor Strange movie and thinks that it's over? It's definitely not over.
No, it's not over.
The Thor movie is going to be amazing. We're getting 3 movies, within a year here. So if you like the mainstream stuff, it's there.
Yeah.
For those who want to see something else, we're getting Moon Knight. Who would have ever thought? Most people don't even know who the hell Moon Knight is.
Right.
And we're getting a Moon Knight series, and yes, we're getting She-Hulk, and we're getting Miss Marvel.
Yep.
And you know what? If you don't want to see anything else outside of the established big name Doctor Strange stuff,
and
Spider-Man and Thor, if you don't want to see anything, don't watch it. Go do something else. Go ride a bike.
Yeah, and if you don't want to see anything,
Go take a walk, man.
If you don't
Go
want
find something else to do, please.
And if you don't want to see something that's, somebody of a different ethnic culture or anything like that, don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
But
don't ruin it for those of us that do want to watch it.
Don't trash it. Don't trash it because it's something that you don't want to watch. I mean, I don't
watch it.
I don't watch The Walking Dead. It's not my thing, but I don't sit back and trash it because I don't like to watch, The Walking Dead.
And here's the other thing that as a woman, okay, I'm a Gen X. I grew up in the 70s. There were very few, 70s and 80s formative years for me, just like the guys. There were very few female superheroes for us to look up to. For me, my superhero was Princess Leia, and she wasn't really even a superhero.
Right.
It took 40, 50 some odd years for her to finally become a Disney princess. Okay, great. But, I had Wonder Woman. I had Isis, if you all remember that TV
show. Hell yeah, I'm dying to see Isis.
Don't forget you had Scarlet, Lady J, and CoverGirl.
Yeah, but those were G.I. Joe, and
right.
Not a lot of girls my age watched G.I. Joe. They were more interested in watching, other.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I was that oddball girl. I watched Spider-Man growing up. I loved watching Spider-Man growing up. I loved Captain America growing up. I was, the huge Star Wars fan. I mean, come on. I didn't get underoos. I mean, y'all got the best underoos. I didn't get squat. I got Barbie. But seeing now seeing what Marvel is doing, Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and now Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk. Marvel is coming and saying, "Hey, let's get those girls who like superheroes, who like comic books. Let's give them let's give them superheroes."
I brought up the G.I. Joe characters because that was the first time for me as a boy growing up that you were featuring women in a frontline role. In in a military.
Yeah.
These three women were important to the group.
That was very unusual. I mean, I remember how revolutionary it was in Aliens and in Starship Troopers that there were women soldiers. They were all like, that's a crazy future thing. Well, we had that we have that in our lifetime now.
Right.
But back then it was very revolutionary.
Ripley was definitely a character that a lot of girls looked up to. I mean, she's
especially in Aliens.
She's probably one of the strongest female sci-fi characters out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gordon Weaver.
I put her at the top of the list because Alien, it was like, okay, she's the survivor, I get it, and then you put her in Aliens, and it's like, oh no, she's the expert here.
And she was badass.
She's the expert.
Badass.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for telling a good story. I don't care who the hero is.
Same here.
As long as the hero is good.
I will get around to watching all of this stuff, but there's a lot of content out there. Let people have these characters. Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Who cares?
If you don't like it, don't watch it.
I actually enjoyed.
And I have a feeling that it's. I was about to say, I have a feeling that, and I haven't seen it yet, but seeing the previews of it, it looks like it has a very different tone and a very different, way of telling the story and stuff. I didn't know that it was 30 minutes long. That makes me more inclined to watch it. Actually,
yeah, the first episode was 30 minutes long.
And
watch the end credits all the way through.
And it's definitely aimed at teenagers. The show is definitely aimed at teenagers. I would say this is Marvel's version of the CW.
Yeah.
But with a little bit more, money spent on the look.
Yeah.
So
it felt wholesome.
It did feel wholesome.
That's how, and
I was talking
really
about
like
how Logan's Run had a sweetness to it
Right.
for being a dystopian world where at the age of 30 they march you into someplace and have you executed.
No. This kind of puts Logan's Run to shame with the sweetness.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that was made in a period of time
Yeah.
where
Right.
Yeah.
all of the stuff was
Supposed to be
innocent and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
wholesome, let's say.
Yeah.
I think that it's perfectly fine to have that. I think we can do that today.
One
I
of
would
the
like to see
things-
more of that.
One of the things I enjoyed, even to this day, about the original Battlestar Galactica was while you still had the romance between Apollo and Serena, it was wholesome.
Yeah.
It wasn't, shoved down your throat, kiss and hug and smooth, the whole 9 yards. It was wholesome. And Battlestar Galactica, still to this, when they made the remake, I just could not get into it because it lost that
You just got a fan in
little
Sean
thing
Wilson.
right there. Huh?
You just got a fan in Sean
And
Wilson.
Sean Wilson. I'm a fan of both.
Where the new Battlestar Galactica is his nemesis.
My brother tried. He's like, but they got great ships, and I'm like, nope.
I'm a fan of both.
They lost me as
As
soon
am
as
I.
they made Starbuck a girl. They lost me.
I know.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that
I'm
went
all
down that
for-
road.
Hey, but you know what? I was fine with them making Starbuck a woman because I was so tired. I was so tired of seeing the fanfics of the characters of Apollo and Starbuck, the male versions.
Oh, yeah, Flash fiction. Yeah, no Splash. Thank you.
Yeah, so I thought making Starbuck a woman was like so you want to hook up Starbuck and Apollo? Okay, we'll hook them up for you.
Yes,
Boom.
who played Starbuck in it?
Yeah, Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, that's the other reason why you liked Starbuck.
No, that's secondary because I thought she played the character well.
What I have seen of it, she did a great job. But I'm
always a fan for a woman who an actress who can throw a good punch like Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh yeah. But
I like to see the women throw a nice right hook or a jab.
I just couldn't get into it because for me, like I said, it was missing that wholesome aspect.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I just they put a more realistic
fix on it. Yeah.
And I will say though, I think it's season 3. I do recommend watching the opening or the first episode of season 3 because that whole battle is just.
Let me get through a Deep Space Nine right now. That's my problem child TV show right now.
That's a good show too.
Yeah, I'm finally starting to really enjoy the episodes of Deep Space Nine because Worf is on them, and it just made the storyline so much better.
That's when it got good.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Better.
Yeah, that's when it got better.
All
right. So housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I come in anyway?
No, go away.
I come in anyway.
I had to play that one. Sorry, Dirk. I come in anyway. So housekeeping, if there is a TV show, old, new, doesn't matter, that you want to see us spoil for you, go ahead and hit us up at taskforcegeek@gmail.com, and we will do our best to watch it and let you know our thoughts and projections and anything else. Dirk, you got something housekeeping to say?
Yeah, on Tuesday night we're going to have G.A. Langaro, friend of the show. He's going to be pushing a Kickstarter campaign with a Cthulhu plushie that he has created, which I mean, I'm interested in the project, but I'm also interested in how the heck he put that together. I mean, he's going to manufacture a plushie. That's kind of next level stuff.
I kind of need that plushie.
Yeah, right. Also a really brilliant idea. And anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing him. And so, for people who are paying attention, I said that we probably wouldn't be broadcasting this month. We will be broadcasting on Tuesday night.
That would be episode, is that 93 or 94?
92 or 3.
Because I think the last one was 92. So
Okay.
this is
Getting
this is
closer.
90
Getting
93.
closer.
Getting close to that 100
It's pretty
episode.
crazy. It's pretty crazy. I have decided that I'm going to do an anniversary episode to bring us out of our, the time that I take off. The next episode that I will do will be an anniversary episode, and it will be different than the anniversary episode I did last time. It will just have people who are our regular contributors on there, and I'm going to try to bring in, the whole gang. So we'll see if I can do that or not. But that's my deal. And then after that, once we hit the 100th episode, I will do what I did with the previous anniversary episode, which is try to get as many guests crammed into that episode as I possibly can. We had a lot of people. We had 15 people or so.
We may even have some of our favorite viewers come in. So
Well, what's funny about that is that I have invited people like, hey, here's the link if you want to just drop by, and a lot of people are like, live video, I don't know. So they don't come on. But yeah, absolutely. Some of the people, that chime in all the time, it would be fun to have them drop by and be part of that. We'll look at that maybe on episode 100.
Let's drop a certain British actor.
Let's see if we can get him.
Invite him and see if he'll jump on.
Let's get him to come in.
See if we can get Max to jump on.
Great. Literally, if he wants to come in for 5 minutes, we will be glad to have him on the show. That would be very awesome.
We'll definitely invite him and see if he wants to come.
Yeah, I'm still hoping to get some other people on here that would surprise you.
I mean, all we got to do is keep nagging him on Twitter. I'd like to throw in there that sometime in the near future we are gonna plan a watch party, an Amazon Prime watch party for something.
I like that idea.
So I think a really good idea for an Amazon watch party would be, I don't know if we want to do it this season or if we want to do it for season 4 of The Boys. So we can have a watch party of The Boys.
I think we should pick a movie first. So
let's do a movie.
We can pick a movie first, but
see how it goes.
Have you started season 4 of The Boys yet, Walt?
You mean 3?
Season 3, yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, okay.
I have not.
I have.
That's another thing I haven't watched.
I'm disturbed by the first episode. I'll just put it that way.
Wait till you get to episode 4.
I've heard about that first episode.
I have to admit, Jensen Ackles is doing a kick-ass job as Soldier Boy so far. So I'm really enjoying this season. But they've taken it above and beyond already.
They
4
are
episodes in, they're already above and beyond. So
they are going way out there, and I'm just doing this the whole time because I'm not a gore person, and I'm just like,
yeah.
You
gotta think about Brian James is loving this command performance.
There you go.
Thank you very much. I'll do all this for my mama.
There you go.
I'm waiting for the comment from Maxine to pop up. No, you don't. Well, that's all I've got. So next week, we'll let you know what time, if we're going to go back to the regular 3 p.m. or if we're going to stay at 6 p.m. But same time, same station. We will be back next week to spoil episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi for you. We've got 2 episodes left. So if you want to get caught up on what we've been talking about, go find us in the Spoiler Alert playlist on the Task Force Geek YouTube, and you can catch up. Until then, for Dirk and Walt, I'm Beth A. Freely. May the Force be with you. Walt, you did not just do that. I'm ending the show now. Okay?
Bad Walt.
Walt obviously forgets which star we're doing. Bye, guys.